NitroRCX.com. Extreme has no limits.
Hey guys, welcome to NitroRCX.com. Today we're looking at the new line of Team Energy Truggies. This is the 1A scale C8ST Team Energy Truggy. We're going to show you guys what comes out of the box, a quick look inside at the electronics and the drivetrain, and of course, show you guys what it's all about. Before we get into it, this is a ready-to-run kit, meaning it's fully assembled. Once you pull it out of the box, it's ready to go. And of course, it comes ready to run, which means it comes with the GT3X radio. Fully proportional, you have 3 channels on here, very tactile steering feel, and it does have tons of features for you to program, and even 10 model memory, so you can save 10 vehicles on this transmitter. Before we open the top, let's just give the outside of this beautiful Truggy a nice hard look. It is a Truggy styling. Truggy meaning a mix of buggy and truck, so you have kind of that low ground clearance, but you do have that truck styling. It does kind of combine the best of both worlds between monster truck and buggy. This is the C8ST Truggy. Adjustable wing on the back, polycarbonate body shell. You do have Truggy type of wheels, which are a little bit wider than the buggy type of tires. It is 17mm hex like all the other 1/8 and 1/7 scale wheels, so you do have a lot of wheel options. This does have that kind of off-road style wheel right here, and you have a larger sidewall than the buggy tire, so you do have a little bit more cushy ride feel or driving feel when you go over rough terrain. Nice and knobby tires. You have a little bit softer foam than the buggy, but it does still feel really nice and should be a great runner. Let's go ahead, remove the cover, and show you guys more of the inside of this truck. Once you remove the cover, you're greeted with a lot of gold anodized aluminum. That's a 3mm anodized aluminum chassis. Let's dive into the electronic system first. You have a 2400 kV high torque motor. Notice the motor mount, it isn't like the traditional clamp-on type motor mounts. This is bolted on to a slide type motor mount, so you can slide that motor mount out and you can mount a larger motor. For example, the 4274 motors or those big 1/8 scale motors, you can mount those right in here. This one is the 2400 kV. It is running on a 14.8 volt system. It is supported by a 100 amp programmable ESC. It is waterproof. You can program different features such as running mode, acceleration. You can program different battery types on it as well as other features. It is waterproof, and if you notice the on-off switch, it is silicone sealed as well as the programming button. Now we mentioned it's 14.8 volt. This one, instead of running on a single 4 cell, it's running on 2 7.4 volt 4,000 milliamp hour lithium polymer batteries that are included with this kit. Remember, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you do need a lithium polymer charger to charge these 2 batteries. On the front right here, you see that GT3X receiver mounted up front. It is waterproof and it is a 3-channel receiver. This vehicle only uses 2 channels, so you have an extra channel if you do want to mount some off-road lights or other gadgets. Moving on to the steering side of things, you have a 15 kg high torque steering servo. Notice that aluminum servo horn up top to keep things nice and strong. It is metal geared, the servo, and it is linked to an adjustable servo saver, so you can use your thumbs to adjust that servo saver to give it a tighter or looser steering feel depending on the terrain you're running in. Now let's dive into the drivetrain and the suspension. The drivetrain is shaft driven full-wheel drive. Notice the chassis braces on this one slightly bit different than the A7X buggy. You have kind of these long braces that go down towards the middle, kind of like a triangular brace type deal, and you have that shaft running down the center, which indicates it is shaft driven four-wheel drive. Center differential is geared and oil filled along with the front and rear differentials, and you have these drive shafts going from the center diff to the rear and the center diff to the front, delivering power to the front and rear. Let's move on to the suspension. You have big bore oil-filled shocks front and rear. Let's take a closer look at the front shocks and give you guys a closer look at what is going on with the suspension. Notice the shock mounting holes. You can mount the shocks inwards or outwards to adjust the shock feel. These are threaded, so you can adjust these thread collars for preload. Instead of switching springs out, you can turn them down or loosen them up to change your spring preload tension. in these shocks are oil filled. You can change the oil for a different viscosity, and Team Energy also includes some different pistons with different sized piston holes in the package, so you can change out the pistons and give the shock a different feel for another level of adjustability using the same shock oil. Now let's move on to the sway bar. This is a sway bar vehicle, front and rear. You can adjust the sway bar for different thicknesses to adjust how the vehicle handles. Or moving out to the hubs, you'll notice that you have aluminum steering hubs. And in the aluminum steering hubs, they're all ball bearings. No bushings on this vehicle, all ball bearings throughout in the diffs, on all sets of the wheels, and near the center diff. On the front, notice the CVD axles you get on the front for your axles. On the rear, you have traditional dog bone. And notice the ground clearance on this Truggy slightly higher than the A7X buggy. You get a little bit more ground clearance for the Truggy body. Not as much as the monster truck, but you do get a little bit more ground clearance on the Truggy styling. Let's take a look at this beautiful anodized aluminum chassis. It's 3mm thick, everything's bolted down with Allen head screws, non-Phillip heads, so you have a less likely chance of stripping them, and the bolts are all 12.9 grade, so they are heat treated and they are nice and strong for a buggy of this caliber. Notice down here you have that center spur gear that is also aluminum. It does have hole cutouts to keep it lightweight and strong. So moving on to the rear of the vehicle, let's look at that rear wing. It is an adjustable rear wing. You do have adjustable holes right here, 3 mounting positions, so you can raise or lower the wing to adjust the downforce. Always want to keep that downforce in check, especially if your Truggy's flying through uneven terrain. You want to make sure that rear end is planted so the vehicle stays stable. Alright, so that covers a quick look of the C8ST Truggy from Team Energy, another awesome product coming out from Team Energy. We love to see these new trucks, buggies, and monster trucks. They are going to have a monster truck, so be sure to look out for that. If you want a bigger, slightly bigger chassis, be sure to check out the 1/7 scale Desert Buggy and the buggy itself. One of my favorites is the buggy. So that finishes this off. If you want more detailed specs and pictures, be sure to head on to nitrorcx.com to get more detailed information on it. Be sure to stay tuned for the video of us running all these vehicles, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
nitrorcx.com. Extreme has no limits.